Welcome to the Health Fix podcast, where Dr. Jannine Krause, that's me, gives you, a health junkie, a weekly dose of tools to help you increase your energy and resilience to life's stressors. The Health Fix podcast is sponsored by Blue Blocks. That's BLUBLOX. Those guys are blue light blocking glasses. And let me tell you, I have been using their computer glasses for over a month now, and I have not had any headaches. I'm not feeling fatigued at the end of the day, and I am feeling great. That strain from me being on the computer and having these awful fluorescent lights above my head has gone away. So I challenge you to check out Blue Blocks, BLUBLOX today, and see what they can do for you. Hello there, health junkies. Welcome to another episode of The Health Fix. I'm your host, Dr. Jannine Krause, and on today's episode, I'm interviewing my husband. Why would I want to do something like that? Well, one, because I like to annoy him, but two, because we've been on a journey with health since we met, and he's finally come full circle. And he's a really great case study for me. So I wanted you guys to hear all about it. But also, I wanted to put this out there for all of the ladies, men, anybody who is struggling with their partner, significant other, and trying to get them to kind of follow their plan of healthiness. This is for you. All right, let's jump into the podcast. Hey, Joel.
Hello.
Thanks for coming on the Health Fix with me.
You're welcome.
He's pretty much tied to the chair right now, guys, because he didn't want to do this at first, but he did agree to it, so here he is. So, Joel, we met in 2008, yeah? Yeah.
Correct.
And at that time, I wasn't really a great model of health, because we met in a bar.
I met you, and you had a mountain of tortilla chips and meat and sour cream.
Oh,
yeah.
It was a beautiful specimen of nachos.
It was a good nacho plate.
Oh my God, guys. It was like the largest nacho plate you've ever seen in your whole life. And I was devouring it, along with a margarita as big as my head. So when I told him that I was a naturopathic doctor, he probably was like, what? Well, first he was probably like, what the hell? What the hell's a naturopath?
Yeah, I didn't know what a naturopath was back then. I never heard of that.
No, because Joel
wasn't interested in that stuff.
And see, did you hear how he just said I wasn't interested in that stuff? That's what he's told me for a long time. And so when we kind of came full circle with health, I was like, oh my God, you got to come on the podcast, because I think people need to hear this, because I was used to hearing for most of our relationship, I'm not into that. I'm not into that. I'm not into that. So Joel mentioned he didn't know what a naturopathic doctor was or is, and I think a lot of people don't, especially if you come from the Midwest. We both grew up in the Chicagoland area. He's from the south side over the border in Indiana, and I'm from the north side of the city, almost to the Wisconsin border. And so we kind of grew up similar, not really knowing not much about natural health. I mean, really, my idea of natural health growing up, even though my mom was pretty good into it, was going to the natural food store and we'd pick out natural food treats like twigs and sticks, aka sesame seed cracker things, which Joel can
seaweed chips.
Or seaweed chips, which how do you feel about seaweed chips?
Oh my God, it's like eating paper. It's terrible.
With like a hint of seed.
Yeah, with a little fish.
And this is one thing that I tell patients a lot is like,
you don't want to buy those. Whoever you are out there, you want to pass on those.
Joel does not like seaweed snacks. But I do tell people, I grew up in the Midwest, right? So our fish exoticness was like what? Fish fry Fridays, right? Perch. What else? Walleye.
Walleye, yeah.
Yeah. What other fish? I think those are the only two I knew.
Anything you could bread.
Yeah. Anything that could be deep fried and breaded. So then when salmon and halibut came about, I was like, what? And then there was our friends that tried to introduce us to clams. How'd that go for us? So the idea of a great appetizer in the Pacific Northwest, and many of you might like these kind of things, and totally cool, are the clams. And you get like the brothy stuff, and our friends are like, just drink the broth, it's good. It's garlicky and clammy, and we're like,
so good.
We're like, no. So where you grew up and how you grew up really does have an influence on the way you eat. And Joel and I both are definitely different than we were 10 years ago, 15 years ago in terms of our eating. And especially, opening things up to eating more seafood, eating more sushi, things of that nature, where before, we were like, no, we're corn-fed Midwest folks. We eat meat and potatoes and corn, especially at the state fair. So, butter and salt. Good stuff. So now, I think it's really important for folks to hear a little bit about your upbringing in terms of food, because your dad's been on a diet for most of your life, and your mom kind of went along with it too. And my mom, I've shared on here, was on a diet since I could remember as well. And that kind of, we talk about how it affects women, but men, it's a different thing. So tell us a little bit about your dad being on a diet and how that kind of looked growing up. That's okay.
Sorry.
We have
coffee belches. Gosh, where do I start with that?
Well, when did Dad start dieting?
Really, he started probably in the late 80s. After the marathon thing in Hawaii.
Okay.
Yeah, he was training for a marathon. Grandpa got sick. Mom's dad. Mm-hmm. And they didn't go to the marathon. And it seems like after that he became an owner of the business and started yo-yo dieting from there. After, it seems like maybe he lost time because he was working so much. Yeah. And wasn't able to do all the training. I don't know, he was still running and biking and stuff, but I don't know. Started drinking more. And
I think that's an interesting point. I think that's an interesting point that you make. A lot of people will start a business and or move up in their business. Let's put it that way. So folks are listening. Joel's parents own funeral homes in Northwest Indiana, and his dad was a partner at first and then became owner. And I think that just like anyone who moves up in their career, all of a sudden we have to try to figure out that juggle between life, family, and fitness. And the interesting component is you said he started drinking more.
Yep, and that would lead to binge eating at night, which luckily I never picked that up. That was one thing I've never done.
Yeah.
But it took off for him, and boy, he's still doing yo-yo diets.
And just get to give folks
plus years of that.
Yeah, that's a lot of years.
Mm-hmm.
Let's give folks a little perspective in terms of where did Dad start in terms of how much he weighed compared to like now where we're at.
When he was fit, I would say he was probably 175, 180, somewhere in there. Mm-hmm. So, he was about 6 foot tall, healthy looking.
Yeah, I've seen pictures.
Yeah, when he was younger.
Yeah.
And then, just started yo-yo dieting from there. And now, I don't know. I don't know what his weight is. Maybe 250.
Maybe a little higher.
275, I don't know. He's on a diet right now, so he lost 30 pounds or something, I think.
So Mom updates us on all of Dad's diets, and she kind of goes along with it too. She's been back and forth on it as well. I mean, did that mess with you as a kid, like hearing like, oh, we're on this diet, oh, we're on this diet? Did they change how you guys ate like every couple of months?
I've always just been like, balance it. Whatever you're eating, balance it out. Like if you have a huge breakfast, you have a lighter lunch and a lighter dinner or whatever, Mm-hmm. If you're going to go out for dinner, you don't eat as much in the morning. That's always how I've been. That's how I've been able to keep my weight under control.
Now, let's talk a little bit about your idea of eating healthy back in the day compared to my idea of eating healthy. Because, folks, he's talking about portion control, which definitely can help. I mean, I think at the very least, I think you can eat some treats and snacks and things of that nature if you absolutely want that. Obviously, we know that snacks are not good for you. Things, to find snacks, bagged snacks, junk food. But let's talk a little bit about when we met, what you were eating and how that looked. So
I was buying the cheapest chicken I could find at City Market, cheapest meat, whatever was on sale. A little bit of ramen noodle here and there. Yeah. You know, it was cheap. What else? What else was a big one? There might have been an Oreo.
I feel like there was a lot of soup here and there. And I'm trying to remember. It's been so long.
Yeah. I would get a canned soup. You know, high sodium, all that stuff. Yeah.
And when you met, and then I came into the picture.
Yeah, you got me off the milk. I was buying gallons of milk. God, I would drink milk, skim milk, but you know, I'd drink it by the gallon. And that was a big thing.
And let's talk about what happens when you drink a lot of milk.
Phlegm wads. And had no idea that's what was causing it. But yeah, you put me on almond milk and coconut milk and flaxseed and hemp seed and whatever.
You name the seed or nut.
We've had that type of milk. And now I love it.
Yeah.
I don't drink milk anymore. Even creamer is almond or whatever we can find that's not dairy.
Yeah, because if we do have dairy, you get an instant...
It's an instant chunk in my throat. My whole family suffers from that. That's the funny thing.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, oh, I get that too. I didn't know that's from milk. You know, it's like, guys. I was the same though, you know? No clue.
Yeah.
But I think they continue to suffer. And, you know,
your mom.
What are you going to do?
But she's always got that cough. You were doing the same clearing your throat and cough thing.
Yeah. So that we fixed a long time ago. But the other things, you know.
Yeah, let's talk about this. So, guys.
We started buying the meat that was grass-fed and chickens that ran around and had a wonderful life. The eggs, you know, free-range eggs.
We only buy the chickens that had a wonderful life, folks. Chicken eggs. But yeah, that was something that, you know, over time, I think let's talk a little bit about how you would get frustrated at me, because there were times when you would go to the grocery store and guys, this is going to make me sound so terrible, but here we go. We'd go to the grocery store and you would go, you would go to the grocery store, you buy food, you make dinner, and what would I do?
What kind of meat is this? Or like, what's this? What's that? And then you'd look at the package or whatever it came in. You're like, this is crap.
I would interrogate him. Yeah, I would. It's true.
So I was basically like, I don't know, you do the shopping then.
And he literally didn't go to the grocery store with me until about 2-3 months ago. And then he was okay to go to the store with me again.
Yeah. But yeah, so you started going to the store, so you took me out of the equation. That helped my diet right there. Because I don't have to think about it, and the food's in the fridge, and it's all pretty much healthy, right?
That's true.
Except for the plastic margarine stuff that we get every now and again.
That would be Miyoko's. That's
and plastic cheese.
Plastic cheese and plastic butter. So what he's referring to there, folks, is...
It's like eating a plastic toy.
Yeah, we were doing... That's gross. We were doing a lot of vegan cheeses and vegan butters just because we were trying to keep him off the dairy. And I kind of thought the vegan oat milk butter, I really kind of liked it. But
it tastes all right.
Yeah, but...
It's different. But
it's kind of like plastic because we're dealing with whipped oils that are heated to a high...
You may as well just melt some plastic in your mouth.
Mm-hmm. So, and I also found that when we cut those out, that's another thing, you guys. So here's something interesting. For me, I'm always looking at how I feel with foods all the time and making notes in my head and making notes on my little journal about food. And when I stopped doing the plastic, as we'll refer to them, butters and the fake cheeses, I started to feel better. I felt more energetic. My feet weren't hurting. I was having a lot of foot pain there for a while. And Joel has had back pain for quite some time. And since we got rid of those and some
Since I was 29.
There you go.
11 years of back pain pretty much every day.
That's
sometimes so bad that I can't walk. That's like once every 2 or 3 years it's spasms. But man, yeah, the last few months since we've really started cutting down, back pain's gone.
And let's tell folks a little bit about, let's back up, because there was something that you said that was really, I think, key for folks to hear about, is you had mentioned that if I just buy it all, you didn't have to think about it, so you, like, by default were eating healthy. Is that like dude code for ladies out there that are dealing with their husbands or boyfriends and trying to help them to eat better? Does it make it easier that way? Does it make it, like, with dude code, tell us how that works?
It does, but you've also got to remember there's that part where, like, you're not fully, you've got like one foot in the healthy eating and you're still looking for things. Like, you're still looking for junk when you go in the cabinets and the fridge. So there is like a phase where you have to learn like what to eat. Like when there's the healthy stuff in the fridge, like what to put together to have a snack. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I don't know how to get this across, but, you know, whereas before you might just be opening the cabinet looking for some crackers and some cheese, now you've got to...
You got to put something together because we don't have anything bagged in the form of chips or anything.
There's nothing like that. You have to learn
what goes together.
A new style of eating, pretty much.
Okay, and so I think
you're gonna grab that apple or piece of fruit for dessert.
Or what
bowl
about
of berries?
Bowl of berries, yeah, you've been doing that a lot.
Bowl of berries, yeah.
What about your newfound one with the dates?
Oh
and the
man,
nuts?
Oh, the walnut date brownies are amazing. Yeah, no flour. The dates are great. Yeah, I love the dates. You could also just take a date and de-pit it and throw the nut inside. It's like eating a turtle without the chocolate. For some reason, it has that taste. I don't know. It's really good.
So, you guys hear this out here? This guy would look at me when I would be trying to make something with dates and be like, what the are you going to do? And then as soon as I made it, he was all over it. But looking at me put the ingredients in, he's like, is that food for birds? Like, what?
Yeah.
What are you making something for the birds?
Nuts and seeds.
Twigs and berries.
The other really good one is the donut holes. What are those made out of?
So these are raw vegan donut holes. This is a recipe from Annie Pio. I'll put it in the podcast notes at drjkrauseND.com. What these are dried apricots and it's almonds, and there's dates in there too, and a little bit of salt, sea salt. And that's mixed up in the food processor. And Joel was like, this is good.
And don't you put protein powder in it sometimes?
I will sometimes put protein powder in it, depending on what we're up to. So you can see here, there are ways to start to get things just dialed in a little bit better in the home. Obviously, yes, I took over the shopping. And over time, we just kept talking about health and health food and things of that nature. And then we moved into Joel doing his own research, which blew my mind because, as we mentioned earlier, he pretty much told me like about my podcast, about my health, you know, the health fix and what I was doing as a naturopathic doctor. You were like, no, I'm not really interested in what you do.
True story.
And then all of a sudden he met.
Well, then what happened was 2020. And I've had an awakening in many different areas this past year. But one of them was brought about by the documentary or docuseries called The Truth About Cancer. And if you guys haven't seen this, I recommend everyone go out and watch. But that really woke me up. As well as I heard a podcast with Tim James from chemicalfreebody.com.
Yes.
Yeah. And those two things over the last several months really really changed the way I think. And then it all started to come together for me.
And finally, my husband became interested in what I do.
And now I'm on pesticide-free coffee. You know, what else? There was another big change. I'm going to try to find, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff.
We stopped getting potato chips for you.
Stopped a while ago, but I feel like recently there was more.
Sprouts. You got into making sprouts and microgreens. Farming.
Yeah, I got these great sprout jars, and we've had some alfalfa sprouts, and supposedly these are super nutrient dense.
Yes.
I've always loved sprouts on my sandwiches, but now we're throwing it on everything. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's really good.
It's like that red hot sauce.
Yeah, it's very earthy. I guess it's an acquired taste, maybe. Some people are like, this tastes like dirt.
Well, I think it's how
it's like beets. Beets are kind of that earth taste, you know? I love it.
You like beets?
I love beets. I like dirt.
Yes, mission accomplished. My husband loves the flavor of dirt.
And then the microgreens, we've got 5 trays going in the sunny window, and those are still a learning process. I think we still need to. I think I did it wrong the first time, but it's coming along. And then we've got food growing all around the house.
We've now have edible landscape
this year. Yeah.
Yep. And guys, this was his decision. I didn't force him into it. I wasn't like, I mean, maybe I was subtly brainwashing him all these years, but it was slow. It wasn't, we first met in 2008. It's now 2021. It's taken a bit to get the transformation, but I have to credit Tim James. If you guys didn't listen to my podcast with him, you'll hear him mention it, that's the turning point. And sometimes, guys have to listen to other guys, and us women, we listen to other women to help us to make some thought processes or changes about how we think about health and things of that nature. So if you're struggling with your significant other, maybe you want to find a podcast that maybe they'd resonate with and kind of make a couple subtle hints about, hey, maybe you should listen to this. Because let's face it, I wish that his epiphany about health would have came from me per se, but we just needed someone else. It's kind of like your children. It's kind of like other things. You just need someone else, right, Joel? How does that work? How did that come about for you in terms of listening to me compared to Tim James stuff?
I don't really know what to say on that one. It's it was really the truth about cancer. Everybody needs to go watch that. And if you Google it, of course, you're going to find smearing campaigns on the people that made it. But you got to realize where the money comes from. And it's the pharmaceutical companies, and the medical industry is so messed up. Mm-hmm. I really believe it.
Yeah.
And you can treat yourself with foods. What you put in your immune system is 80% in your intestines. Mm-hmm. I mean, right there. So if you're putting in your body packaged foods and McDonald's and like most Americans, you can understand why everyone's unhealthy.
Mm-hmm. No,
I mean, a lot of Americans probably eat fast food a few times a week.
And people who eat it for every meal. Yeah,
and even if you don't, and you're buying the shit and you're going in your cupboards and you're pulling out all this bull stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're constantly, that's your fuel. And if it's, if there's nothing in it that's going to help your body, it's like, man, it's a no-brainer. It took me too long. I mean, but we were pretty good compared to a lot of Americans.
Yeah.
We ate pretty good even before all this stuff. Mm-hmm. There were just a few tweaks I needed to make, but we are heavy on the vegetables. Mm-hmm. We always have been for the last 12 years.
Yeah.
And it's gotten even more, up to now. But, we eat a lot of vegetables in this house.
That's a good thing. And folks, I wanted to have Joel come on so that you can hear from him kind of how it is, but also just how the transformation kind of came about. And the veggies it's a real deal thing. I'm always saying eat your veggies because they have plant info. Like their info gets into our body when we eat them, and it helps us to remain healthy. Like that's what the antioxidants are. That's what all those signaling proteins and things that everyone talks about. That's what helps us is plant food. We have plant intelligence, and
one other quick thing, like I think I was telling you on the way here that when we were kids, Mom always had vegetables as part of the meal, you know, but a lot of it, I don't want to say a lot, but I know we ate some canned vegetables, and I think a lot of frozen, but you know. And I learned from you 10 years ago that canned was not permitted in our house. So the canned green beans are my favorite because they're salty. They're so good. But yeah, those were banished from being in our home.
Yeah, I mean...
So, and I don't even want them anymore.
Right, because you know the difference now between what canned and fresh beans taste like. And things of that nature. And folks, you know, if you're just on the journey and you're just getting there, you know what? It's better. Canned veggies are better than nothing. Frozen are actually great because they're picked and then flash frozen, so you get a lot of nutrients in there right then and there.
So yeah, for me, it wasn't an issue eating more vegetables because I've always loved vegetables. And I know a lot of people, like people at work and stuff, are like, oh, what, you know. They always bring that stuff, and it's like, oh, the vegetables. Wish there was more, you know, Rice Krispies or whatever. You know, like a lot of people I don't think like vegetables, so that might be harder for them. But for me, it's easy.
Well, I think it's how you prepare them. It's how you make them, because you can make vegetables really delicious.
Yeah, but I think some people, you know, you can make Brussels sprouts however you want, and they're going to be like, oh, this tastes like...
Well, Brussels sprouts have been such a thing, like on menus. Like every restaurant has their version of Brussels sprouts. But I think what people don't realize is they're deep frying those Brussels sprouts to make them that crispy. Yeah. That, in and of itself, makes your Brussels sprout. Now it's like a French fry. So this is something to think about, guys. If it's important when you go to a restaurant to ask them how they make it, and you know, most of the time, Or don't ruin it.
Or, you just go and you're like, okay, you know, we're going to eat our bio thing.
The biotoxin binder.
Biotoxin binder, you know,
so
capsule after we eat this meal. But we're going to enjoy the meal. And we're not going to worry about it. And tomorrow we're going to be eating how we eat, you know?
I think that's an important component. First, guys, if you heard him say the biotoxin binders are by Cellcore. And I'll put the link to that in the podcast notes at drjkrausend.com. The biotoxin binders are what we use to try to help our body assimilate food when we eat out and eat, you know, foods that might not be clean. Let's put it that way. But what you're saying right there, you can go out, plan for an evening, you're going to have whatever food you want, but that doesn't mean you're like off the wagon. Because I think there's a lot of this all or none thought process going on for a lot of people. And like you said, we go right back.
Derailed by one.
Yeah, one meal.
Out.
And then it's like, oops, it's over.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I don't know.
It happens. Yeah. No, I think one of the things that I wanted to talk a little bit about was going back to the fast food because, guys, for so many years, I would make, you know, an effort, well, not for so many years, all the time, it's lifestyle, right? To have Joel eating healthy all the time when he was at home, but then he would manage to go out to Jack in the Box or McDonald's or somewhere, and I was like, why do you do that?
Well, it was the late nights, you know. It was the late nights, I think, with the job, and
let's talk about that.
Because you have to prepare. If you know you're going to be working late, you got to make something. And that's where I failed before.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to worry about that now because I just make a lunch and good. But from where I worked before, it was like lunch and probably dinner, and I wouldn't do the dinner, and then I'd be starving. And it's like, God, I gotta eat something. And I wasn't going to Whole Foods buffet, I was going to what was quick. So.
And he used to carry on around like carrots and celery and all kinds of stuff and snacks, but he'd still need a meal. He just didn't have enough
Careful
food.
with celery. Because if you're eating a stalk of celery for a snack, you're going to have to plan to be by a toilet because that'll run right through you. But it's good, cleans you out.
Yeah, that's why the medical medium talks about celery juice and drinking celery. Celery is it's a lymphatic detoxificant, so it clears your lymphatic system, so it helps your drainage stitches open up and moves toxins out, but it also has a lot of fiber in it. So, yeah.
See, and I love the info. I like to ask you different things like, what's this good for? And you'll be like, oh, this helps your skin detoxify or whatever. It's like it has vitamin. Yeah, so I love that, those little bits of information.
Did you always love that information? Or
I have. I've always told you that.
Yeah.
Like, it's fascinating to me that certain foods are good for certain things,
Mm-hmm.
And herbs
go
along with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no.
Yeah, cool stuff. I love it.
So here's an interesting tidbit, guys. Now, because of my work schedule and Joel's work schedule, he actually makes us dinner quite often. And we've been working with helping him to get different ideas for sauces and different flavors, because that was one of the big things he asked me about is like, I don't know how to make things taste good. Like, I don't know how to combine flavors. And that was the other thing, like he had mentioned earlier, I don't know how to combine things to make a healthy snack. So those of you out there that are listening to this, it might be the difference between you and your partner having a conversation about how can I support you? How can I help you to make something healthy? And sometimes it's the simple things. Like I bought him a book about sauces. He's maybe opened it twice.
True.
But I at least
Well, when you open it and there's like 20 ingredients and we probably only have 4, I get frustrated really easily. I can't. So I'd rather, I just need to have the knowledge of what goes with what. Like if I'm looking to make a Mexican dish, I'm okay there because, chili powder,
cumin.
I was like, it starts with a C. Yeah, chili powder, cumin.
Paprika, salt, pepper. Boom.
Yeah.
Yes.
Italian. But yeah, so like a quick cheat sheet of,
spice combos.
Italian, Mexican.
Greek, whatever.
Whatever it is, yeah.
So yeah, folks, I'll put my cheat sheet that I have in at drjkrauseND.com.
You just got to know a few of the things that go in it, and it can
make
transform the meal.
Mm-hmm. And you've made, we're really good at something called slops, and it sounds gross to call it slop, but really what it is a combination of meat and veggies, and we tailor it towards whatever flavor we're going for.
And you just mix it all together
in one. It's a one pan.
All we eat is slop. We don't very rarely do we have like a meat, a vegetable, and a potato or whatever, like separate on our plate. It's all just, we really need to get a wok because it's hard to keep it in that pan.
Yeah. So
this is something we need to.
We use green pans and we need to see if they've got a wok.
We need a high edge, pan. So
with our slops, one of the things you guys might be thinking right now, like, oh my God, this sounds disgusting. It's because it's convenient for Joel to be able to make it. And the component is, I think a lot of people put a huge emphasis on healthy foods have to take forever to make. And the truth is, it doesn't have to take forever. You can quickly whip something up by mixing them together, like one dish meals. There's even cookbooks on one dish meals, and that's really what our slops are, one dish meals.
And typically it's like a meat most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to get away from that, but a meat, and then it's like 4 or 5 different vegetables with sauce.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's it.
And our sauce is made from either fresh herbs and a little bit of olive oil or avocado oil, something of that nature. It's not a pre-bought sauce. Now, granted, I will buy sauces here and there if we are traveling to try to make things easier, but few and far between. It's mostly stuff we've made all of ourselves.
Right.
So, Joel, if you could give folks a summary of what eating healthy has done for you, and just kind of wrap it back up and bring us full circle here, tell folks what it's done in terms of your health, what it's done in terms of mind, what it's done in terms of just overall feeling well-being.
It's real simple.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm 19 right now. Really do. With my back feeling better.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the back for so many years now. And I was mountain biking a lot years ago, and I think that's when it started, maybe because my psoas has just been a real bear for 11 years.
Mm-hmm.
But I think maybe it's because the inflammation has gone down,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and now I have no pain in my back, and that right there has changed my life.
Yeah.
We just need to get closer so we don't have to fight traffic to get to, the outdoors. But yeah.
Wow.
I think the anti-inflammatory properties of the vegetables and all the other stuff, man, that's really helped.
Getting away from the processed stuff.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't eat a lot of it, but I was still eating a little more breads and stuff, and I mean, we've almost completely cut that out.
Mm-hmm.
I still like a loaf of bread in the fridge, but
that's on you. That's on you. I mean, I think
I'm eliminating it.
Well, I think the important thing and what we really wanted to get across by having you come on and me interview you is really that you don't have to be perfect.
Right.
And that you can still keep the things you like.
Right. But don't have it in the house often. I mean, I think that would work really well for my dad. And I know they've tried that. And I think he ends up just bringing stuff back in. Because Mom is committed.
Yeah.
She's always been pretty healthy. Healthy weight and everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, yeah, that you just need to not have it in the house.
Yeah.
Or if you do, just have one thing.
Mm-hmm. Because otherwise it's going to talk.
Yeah. It's going to call your name every evening when you get home from work.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we did away with ice cream.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. No more ice cream.
Desserts are a bowl of berries.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully fresh ones from our plants soon. But
crossing fingers there.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, folks, you've heard it. You've heard the changes with my hubby and how things have went about. And at this point, I think we've kind of given you a really good idea of what he's changed and how it's been. And yeah, it's been a struggle for me because, you want someone so badly to eat like you and think like you and be like you. And unfortunately, you have to remember that you're two completely different people. And you're in charge of your health. Regardless of what your partner has to say or what their thought process is. You don't have to eat like them. Yeah, it might be a pain in the butt to have two different eating styles in the home. And it might be completely annoying to have the let's put it this way, teaser of all of their food, their junk food, in the home. But it's really important to let them do their thing. Because I think if I would have pushed Joel all these years, he probably, we kind of had some battles a little bit about stuff, but if I would have pushed him all these years, I don't think that he would have got to where he is today. I think he would have probably, been more negative on things. So on this end of the things, I think We turned things around just by leading the example of the lifestyle that I led, and just one day at a time. And here we are, quite a few years later, and he's finally come full circle. So there's hope out there for you if you're trying to get your family and everybody to kind of fall into line. The secret, I really think, is not forcing them. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, presenting the information and hoping it takes.
Crossing your fingers.
Yeah, pretty much. And really understanding. I can't say enough about the Truth About Cancer podcast or docuseries or whatever it is. Really eye-opening. And I know you talk about all that stuff, or you probably covered it all in your podcasts. But when you have it in a condensed format and it's all there, it's just super eye-opening. Mm-hmm. When you know that there's cancer facilities that have a 90+% success rate, stage 1 to 4, and people are going to get chemotherapy and it's like an 80% kill rate. I mean, survival rate of cancer is not good. And, you can fix all of this, or at least you have a better chance of fixing it by changing your lifestyle, changing how you eat, changing your exercise habits, and getting rid of the chemicals that are in your foods, the GMOs, the pesticides, all of it.
And drinking clean water.
That was a big change recently. Mm-hmm. That was the other big one.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that.
I forgot about that. Yeah,
all
I was still drinking water from the fridge, which doesn't filter out much. And
I was drinking water from our specific filtered bottle water, and he was like not little bottle, like big filtration system thing. And he was like, "You're weird. Why do you do that?"
It was a pain, and the fridge was just easier. But after seeing all this stuff, I'm like, well, it's worth it to pull out the big jug and pour it, and
Suddenly, my fancy bottled water wasn't.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, you see all these things that you can, that help you stay healthy. And it's like healthy that's from the inside out. The chemo is just attacking the tumor or whatever. It's not getting to the root cause of the cancer, which is a systemic deal, You got to get to the root.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not going to do that with chemo. Some people survive with chemo, and that's great, But, it's just getting to that root cause and doing all of the stuff we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that we can't really control is what's in the skies and our local environment.
It's true.
The city.
It's true.
But control everything else, and hopefully you live a healthy life. Of course, we're going to get back out to nature.
Yes.
One of these days.
Yes. That's the missing link in our
back to the mountains.
Component right here is mountains and sunlight. And I'm going to be doing a podcast here coming up next on the benefits of sunlight. So this is a great segue into the next episode of the Health Fix. But really, guys, the reason I'm so particular about what I eat and what I put in my body and how I do it is because both my mom and my aunt died of breast cancer. I didn't want that fate. My mom was definitely super healthy eater, but what she wasn't doing was the water in our area. She wasn't filtering the water. We grew up in a well. where unfortunately there's a high rate of cancer in the area of Illinois where I grew up, and I do believe it has to do with groundwater. I also believe that it has to do a lot with how much alcohol you drink and how much in terms of the junk food and processed foods. And while my mom was a dear in terms of trying to eat healthy, she also did love certain junk food things, Cheetos in particular, and
Who doesn't?
they're tasty little buggers. But point being here is that even though she was doing what she could, I think there were things she could do better. And so I'm just trying to get better every single day and take control of my health as much as I could. And I think really, unfortunately, that what did take my mom down is that instead of going for working on whole foods more and clean water and things of that nature, she decided to go for chemo. And unfortunately, that in the end took her, and it took 10 years. She had 10 years of a struggle, and it was brutal watching all that. And so I've chosen not to go that route, and really just to help folks learn that it's really important to pay attention to what you put in your body and how you do.
Start it before you get cancer.
Yes.
Start doing it before you get it.
Prevent it. Prevention's key. And the missing link with us now is sunlight, and we're working on that. And right now,
pretty good sunburn going right now from being out on the lake.
Right now,
it's wonderful.
We are in Montana, and we are going to head out and go paddleboarding right as we speak. So you guys have survived another episode of The Health Fix. I really hope that you enjoyed this interview where we get real, and maybe had some inspiration to help with your significant others in the process of getting the whole family healthy. All right, guys. Stay tuned for the next episode of The Health Fix where I talk about sunlight. Thank you for listening to another episode of The Health Fix podcast. This podcast was brought to you by Blue Blocks, the blue light blocking glasses. If you followed me on Instagram, you will see me wearing my computer glasses. Those are the Galaxy version. They're fabulous. I have not been having headaches in my office thanks to those awful overhead lights that we have. Those buggers are... Blah. So, anyway... Blue light blocking glasses, game changers for your health. Check out them at blueblocks.com. Hey, health junkies, I hope you enjoyed my podcast. If you want to continue the conversation based on what topic I'm talking about at any given time on the Health Fix podcast, head over to my Facebook group, Find Your Health Fix. It's where we are talking about what's going on in health, what I'm talking about in the podcast, and I love to answer questions there. So come hang out and join the conversation. And by the way, right now I have a free Manage Your Stress Naturally course that you can grab on my website at drjkrausend.com, because so many people are stressed out right now, and really it has to do with the basics, your routines and simple habits that are messing you up. So head on over to drjkrausend.com and go check out my free course on managing stress naturally. All right, folks, have a great day, whatever you're doing.
Subscribe, rate, and share info.